the joy of being out here at the Super Bowl is, yes, we're speaking to Hall of Fame NFL guests. We're building up to this huge game this weekend, live and exclusive on talkSPORT. But guess what? This city, or certainly the city of Santa Clara, is going to be hosting games in the World Cup this summer. This huge World Cup across the US, Mexico and Canada that we'll be bringing you every single game of live on talkSPORT. I'm delighted to say that a man that knows a little bit about what it takes to make soccer happen in North America, Alan Rothenberg, joins us, former head of US soccer, basically the guy behind the MLS, the 94 World Cup, the 99 Women's World Cup. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with us. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure, really.
I mean, first and foremost, tell us about the book.
Well, I've written a book called The Big Bounce, available right now on Amazon.
Perfect.
And it really tracks the growth of soccer in the United States from 1990, when I was elected president of the U.S. Soccer Federation and took over managing the World Cup, right on through the 90s. So it actually dips back to the 84 Olympics in Los Angeles, which really opened FIFA's eyes to the possibility of bringing the World Cup to the United States. And so we cover everything that happened during that period of time, including the first Women's World Cup, obviously the 94 World Cup, the 96 Olympics in Atlanta, the creation of Major League Soccer, the creation of of U.S. Soccer Foundation, just everything that created the base for the huge growth that has followed since.
On that point of huge growth, and I do want to ask some stories about that time, but when you reflect on the 90s and you reflect on, the World Cup in 94 really is the first tournament I have real memories of. I vaguely remember Italia 90, like I was kind of 6 or 7 years old, but the World Cup 94, I stayed up to watch that terrible, terrible game and that Roberto Baggio missing the penalty shootout. I was, even at that age, I was almost surprised to see how much America bought into the whole event, and America loves a big event.
Right.
But did you ever imagine that it would grow to the point where now we come out here as football people who cover football in the UK, and the people here follow football as closely as they do anywhere in the world?
I don't think I ever imagined it would be as big as it has become, as fast as it's become. I knew that it was inevitable. We couldn't ignore what the rest of the world knows forever. But really, as I mentioned, the 84 Olympics and then the 94 World Cup really opened everybody's eyes to it. And you talk about big event. When I took over running the World Cup, we weren't sure how much true soccer support there was in this country yet. But I knew that the country loves big events. Mm-hmm. So we really changed the whole model that has since been followed. I mean, we had more entertainment, more celebrities, more different galas and shows.
We all remember Diana Ross.
Yes, Diana Ross. And then the final draw where Robin Williams just cracked everybody up. I mean, people still pick it up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. That it really got people's attention. We quickly sold out our batches of tickets, so the impression was it's a hot ticket. You can't miss out on it. And we set every record there was. I mean, it'll be broken finally this year. It was just, we caught lightning in a bottle. When I try to tell people about the growth of soccer in this country, the best I can do is when I became president of the U.S. Soccer Federation in 1990, Italia 90 had just concluded. There was no live English language television in the United States of that World Cup.
Wow.
Okay. Fast forward to last year, every MLS game, every NWSL game, all of the Euros and the CONCACAF Gold Cup were on one Saturday. And that tells it all as far as where the interest has grown in the sport in this country.
And that's obviously domestic soccer. We come from a point of being people who cover a sport that's so American outside of America.
Right.
I think what blows my mind is that one of our guys on our production team is a Tottenham fan, and there's a bar that they're going to at 4 a.m. on Saturday morning to go watch Tottenham Man United. Like, we understand that level of dedication by following the NFL in our country, but seeing that people buy into it so much is a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, we have universal interest in the United States now. In fact, one of the challenges we have in continuing to grow soccer in this country is we get all the Premier League games, we get La Liga, we get Bundesliga, we get Serie A, and so in terms of the TV ratings, we have to share, and it's a challenge, obviously, the Premier League more than any, and obviously Barcelona or Real Madrid, they attract such huge audiences, and you could be bleary-eyed and exhausted by the time, because those are here earlier, by the time the MLS games come on in the afternoon. So, we'll fight that battle, and I think 2026 will really help us kick it to the next level. But right now, that's the challenge. Our fans are too interested in too much. I mean, you'll go to some places, and you'll see more Real Madrid jerseys, replica jerseys, than the home team's jersey. So we got to reverse that.
I always tell people that that is the thing that for me, when it comes to covering it, it's the fact that the world has opened up so much. The advent of the internet, the fact that you can access all those things. So I guess going back to '94, how did you make sure that the World Cup, what I love about any international tournament is when it takes on the feeling of the country it's in. When you go to Italy and it's got all of those, whether it's there, whether it's South Africa, whether it's Brazil, and just everything about it, the colour, the look, it just wonderfully encapsulates the culture of that country. How did you make sure that you gave it the full Americana whack, but also didn't alienate kind of the traditional soccer fan, as it were?
It kept growing. And I'd say the turning point, in many ways, for fan appreciation of what the World Cup is when we got out of the group, we played Brazil in the quarterfinal on July 4th, our Independence Day, for which we thank you.
Not me personally, of course.
And we all know how demonstrative the Brazilian fans are. Well, we had an equal number of American fans, painted faces, singing songs, waving flags, and I said, we've got it. We finally figured out what this is all about, and that's not changed since.
What was the most challenging thing about getting the country here to engage in the sport?
Again, getting their attention, and we did that by having all these different events and all these celebrity events. And obviously, we didn't just do it in the abstract. We always connected with this is because we're going to have this World Cup coming later on this summer.
It's what a lot of people ask me about how the NFL grows in the UK. And I say a lot of people I know that follow it, the first time they watched a game was a Super Bowl because they were interested in going out and having some beers with their friends and eating some wings, and maybe they like the halftime show. But once they watch the product itself, you get hooked. And I think when you look at the quality of a World Cup, yes, you can draw people in with all that entertainment and all that razzmatazz and everything, but then it's all about the stories on the pitch.
Absolutely. You can't substitute for that. And in fact, I also say that soccer would not have been as successful as soon as it was in this country if our U.S. team hadn't played well. If we, and we made it to Italy for the first time in 40 years in the World Cup, but we didn't play so well. We lost the first game, I think it was 6-0 here. So we really focused on making sure the men's national team was going to be competitive. And the fact that they got out of the group, beat Colombia, which at that time was considered one of the favorites, and then played head-to-head to Brazil in the quarterfinal, that really cemented the idea that we are truly ready to be part of the world soccer community.
So when you look at this upcoming World Cup, what challenges do you see that maybe they really need to come up and meet to make sure that it's a true success?
Well, it's going to be a true success if you measure it by fan interest and attendance. There's no question about that. It's a totally different operation than it was in '94. '94, we had to go from 0 to, let's say we got to 60. Now, since there's been growth since then, we got to go from 75 or 80 to 100. So it's a narrower but tougher bar, obviously. But the organization is totally different. In '94, FIFA basically kept the international TV and marketing rights, turned everything else over to us. We had all the risk but all the reward. Now FIFA has run this tournament. So they have host committees in every city, but those host committees are responsible for putting it on, but they have precious little revenue opportunities. So lots of expense burdens, fewer revenue opportunities. So it's a real struggle, and it's really hard to manage 11 American cities, let alone Mexico and Canada, from FIFA instead of locally. They bypass the soccer federation and just are doing it themselves. So it's probably been more cumbersome than it needs to be. But at the end, it's going to be fabulous. And everybody's worried about immigration and everything else. Believe me, first of all, they've already said that if you have our ticket holder, you go to the head of the line for a visa. So that'll be taken care of. We all know soccer fans, one way or another, they're not going to be impeded. They're going to get here. And so I'm not worried about that. And, President Trump, whatever anybody thinks about his politics, the fact is, huge sports fan. He created a World Cup task force that he chairs. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of noise out there, obviously. But I don't think that there's going to be any serious impediments.
I think that is the thing, the question of serious impediments, because there was so much talk about this weekend with the Super Bowl as well. Like, will there be ICE agents in attendance, everything that goes with that? And certainly, I think my concern would be is that even if the impediments aren't there, people see the stories, people see the news, and even if that impacts their decision to come or not, even if that impacts their decision whether to go to a game and enjoy it. And that's, I guess, what I want to see is over the next 4 or 5 months, the reassurances that whatever happens in the next, 5 years beyond that, we're going to make sure that this 6, 7, 8 week period is going to be one big celebration of the world.
I have no question that that's going to be the case. And as I said, the president is fully engaged with this, so I don't think he's going to do anything that would create impediments. This noise about a boycott, that's not going to happen. The media loves to jump on any story, and before you actually get into the competitive stage of it, what do you write about? You write about preparation and things like that. Once the tournament starts, you pay attention to the matches, and you're really talking about soccer, not all the extraneous things. So call me a cockeyed optimist, but I think it's going to be just fine.
I hope so. I think it's a really unique challenge. It's a really unique World Cup. I mean, certainly even from our perspective as a broadcaster, the unique challenges of figuring out the logistics of the travel and following the teams and the cost and everything else. But I really hope that it does prove to be a huge success. And
it will be. And, as I tell a lot of great stories in the Big Bounce about getting ready, talking to the then presidents, Bush and then Clinton, traveling around the world and seeing Nelson Mandela, our honorary chairman of our World Cup organizing committee was Henry Kissinger. I mean, there's a lot of great backstories that people have never ever read about. It doesn't cover game by game, obviously the highlights like the Colombia game we talk about or the Brazil game, but it's more how we put it all together. And it was fun doing it, and the people that have read it said it's a fun read. So
I'm looking forward. This will be my post-Sunday. What's my first non-NFL season bit of media I consume? There we go. I'm going to read the Big Bounce.
Great.
We really appreciate you taking the time out to speak with us.
It's great to be with you.
And look, with talkSPORT, we are going to be out here. We are going to be covering the World Cup extensively. So I'm going to be getting your number, and we'll be getting you on with White and Jordan, and making sure that they will be grilling you. I promise, but you'll have a lot of fun with them.
Well, the good news is that England is here and one of the favorites. They didn't qualify in 1994, as you recall.
Absolutely not.
The only good thing is that meant we didn't have to deal with hooligans.
Excuse me? Was that ever a concern?
Whoa, at that time it was. Now, obviously, it's not a problem.
That's interesting. So is that something that you cover, potentially the crowd control and stuff in the book as well?
Yes, we talk about that. We talk about the fact that when we got to the end of Asian qualifying, Iran, Iraq, and North Korea were all in the final group and could have easily qualified, which we'd have been tearing our hair out if any one or let alone all of them qualified. Fortunately, they all got knocked out. And I tell a great story about a conversation I had with Sepp Blatter about that. So it'll be fun to read about that. You'll get a kick out of it.
Is it a little insight into Sepp Blatter? What's he like behind the scenes to deal with something like that?
Sepp was really, really helpful to us. I mean, forget what happened later. excuse me, but he was a good partner, totally.